Hey everybody, it's Bust with Busted Strategies number 54. It's going to be our last one of the old Midnight Hunt. The Crimson Vow stuff should start up tomorrow. And so, yeah, I'd kind of mentioned in the previous video that I wanted to just come out here and force werewolves in this one, kind of see how it goes. It's probably just going to go poorly, but being the werewolves themed set, I feel like we should really come down here and give them their last hurrah before leaving the Midnight Hunt behind. And so it should at least play to some of the kind of ideas that we'll be looking for in terms of Crimson Vow. Just starting out, not really understanding the format, and just kind of I'll do this on occasion where it's just like, well, we'll just pick an archetype and really come out here and try and force it, just to kind of get a feel for what the cards do and how they interact together, what a general draft is going to kind of look like, and keep things going in that order. And so this here, I mean, it's not the worst way to kind of get your start into just drafting werewolves for the heck of it, because the rare is bad, the uncommons. The Flame Channeler is the best of them. And then the Esper cards, as we've come to learn to be so powerful, not that strong in this pack. And so it would actually be, kind of a tough one in terms of what to take, because you're really just getting stuck with like an Ominous Roost or a Flip the Switch in this pack. So we're going to come out here and take the Flame Channeler. As we kind of explained throughout here, I guess there's not too much time left in the explaining since the Crimson Vow will be out the day this video is released, but we like to just let red and green come to us. And so we'd want to pick an Esper card, kind of lay our claim to one of the colors in Esper, ideally just be stuck in Esper, but then look, pick 5 or pick 6, see what the red and green cards kind of look like, and maybe look for a wheel. So in that previous pack, there was like a Shadow Beast sighting. That shouldn't table, but we might be able to get like the Lambolt Harrier back out of that one. But here, since we did start with the Flame Channeler, we're going to look for some burn spells if possible. It's a great value engine if you're able to support it, but this pack doesn't do too much in terms of supporting it. And so it does have 3 playable green cards in it. We're not going to play Raise the Effigy. I'm just going to go ahead and start with the Eccentric Farmer. I don't particularly like it in red-green. I like this in blue-green, maybe kind of, sort of, in green-black, but green-red doesn't really like it, but it's one of the few kind of card advantage engines we'll get, and then we're hoping to table Might of the Old Ways. That hurts to say. It's like the most ideal outcome here is to just wheel a bad combat trick. That is the state of red green in this format. Okay, well, we did come across a second Eccentric Farmer we could look to take advantage of. There are 3 decent red cards here. What I'm hoping with this one is we can take the green card out of it and then wheel either the Infiltrator or the Neonate's Rush. The Neonate's Rush playing fantastically with Flame Channeler, even if we don't have any vampires on board. But ideally, we'll get the Infiltrator back. We're getting pretty stacked on 3 drops up to this point, which is a bit of something to watch out for, but we've dealt with worse in the past. All right, what a real turd of a pack! This is why red green is so bad in this format. As you kind of look at this pack, there's some really high-quality white cards at pick 4 between the Dawn Guard and the Candlegrove Witch. There's a really strong playable in blue and Falcon Abomination, and then some serviceable black cards between Hobbling Zombie, Heirloom Mirror. And so this is pick 4 when you're kind of expecting, decent cards to live, but somebody's going to be getting like a pick 8, like Candlegrove Witch out of this pack or something, and it's going to be pretty strong for them. But as we've put this together, we've got 2 Eccentric Farmers. I think we can use the Electric Revelation here. These 2 guys play pretty well together, whether or not it's just milling the Electric Revelation to your graveyard for some value or discarding the extra lands to this thing. We can certainly make use out of it here. Okay, then we'll pick up the Neonate's Rush. These are not werewolf cards. I mean, I think this was kind of the fail of the set in terms of what Wizards has done. Is this is supposed to be the werewolf set, right? And then the next one, the Crimson Vow set, is the vampire set, and then just the kind of gothic Halloweeny kind of themes are what tie the 2 sets together. But for a set that's really heavily focused on werewolves, we're at pick 6 in the draft, and we've seen 1. And so it's a little, if this was our first one, if we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, it would be kind of tough to be like, oh shit, yeah, this is the werewolf set. There's so many werewolves out there just running around and to be useful. But all right, nonetheless, the Duel for Dominance is fine. Reasonable removal spell. Does not count as damage for the Flame Channeler. When the units fight, they count as dealing the damage, not the spell itself. So not a real combo there. Shadow Beast Sighting is a nice little addition. Again, it plays well with the Eccentric Farmer. We've got two of these to this point. Whether or not we just mill it, that's great. If we cast it, that's great. And then the Eccentric Farmer should help us get the land we would need to cast a card like that. Okay, so here I'm just going to go with the Evolving Wilds. It doesn't really help us with the the werewolf theme that we've attempted to assemble, but with the two eccentric farmers, it works. If we play the farmer and mill and miss, if we've used an Evolving Wilds and we have a land to get, and then if we do end up splashing a third color, the Evolving Wilds will be quite nice. Oh, the Shadow Beast Sighting tabled. So I mean, the green is clearly open. I thought we were going to get stuck with the Lambolt Harrier here, which did indeed table, but the Shadow Beast Sighting, in my opinion, is the best green card in the set, or the best green common. Might of the Old Ways did wheel. That looks good. Ooh, and our werewolf. We got our first werewolf of the draft. Welcome, Harvest Tide Assailant. That's right. I think we passed on a Bird Admirer earlier, so it's not. We weren't completely out of werewolves here, but. Being the werewolf set, not readily apparent from the draft we've assembled here. Let's see, Neonate's Rush can go over. Pretty sure we're going to play the Electric Revelation, and in a lot of formats, this wouldn't look like a very bad start. Like if we were core set drafting, this would look like like a pretty strong core set draft. But here in Innistrad Midnight Hunt, not the strongest of things we could have assembled. Not bad, not bad. We get more of a kind of like a grindy, control decky looking red-green thing here. Lots of ways to do stuff with mana. I've seen worse. We definitely need to pick up on the early piece of our curve. Only having 1/2 drop is bad. We need to get up to about 6 or so. And then hopefully fill in with some removal spells. But hey, as we're out here talking about this is going to be the werewolf draft, we kind of find the premier werewolf to have out of the set in the Reckless Stormseeker. That's going to be a pretty easy take for us. Not too much else going on in this pack. There's a lot of really decent Esper stuff between the good blue cards at Uncommon and the Fading Hope in the Wrangler, even the Revenge of the Drowned down here. Not much white, but there's decent playable black cards as well. So, unfortunately, with the way life goes, we're not going to table this Moonrager Slash. I'm hoping that we can table the Tireless Hauler, but I'm afraid the person drafting green-white is probably just going to take it. So we're going to miss out on our opportunity for the Werewolf here, but definitely not complaining about opening a Stormseeker. Okay, so there is the Angel Fire Ignition here, which kind of interested in picking up. We aren't missing out on too much here, right? There's the Defend the Celestus, which we don't really need. Our deck's going to be too top-heavy for this. We shouldn't need Candlelit Cavalry. We should hopefully be able to get some of the big green werewolves to top off our curve. And then if not, there's even going to probably be a Tavern Ruffian tabling. But, we mega-click that. That pisses me off more than anything. It's so easy to just, want to click on a card and look at it. I don't know if it's my mouse or what the deal is, but pisses me off to no end. Nonetheless, back to the action here. The Spellrune Painter is another one of the premier werewolves. Our curve is getting a little high. We could even just look to pick up the Overgrown Farmland. What do we think of this? It would let us get away with just playing Evolving Wilds as single planes and then the farmlands to play our Angel Fire Ignition. We're not going to be a Spellrune Painter deck. We're just looking to play it because it says Werewolf on the card. This fits in the Festival Crashers deck. We have, Angel Fire Ignition that would play towards that, but I think I'm actually okay just taking the Overgrown land, whatever, here, and then hopefully we just wheel that. There were some decent red cards in that one, and so there's a definite possibility that it happens. Here we'll get the Moonrager Slash. It sucks to pass on Fangblade Brigands. I don't think this will ever table, but there are a few green cards here, so we might get to fill out our 2-drop space if this Pestilent Wolf tables. But yeah, I think the Brigand is just a little too good to make its way back to us. All right, well, we got another Flame Channeler. That's going to be our way to fill in the 2-drop space. If this, like, Shadow Beast Sighting wheels, I would consider playing it. I don't like playing more than 2 Shadow Beast Sightings in decks that don't have ramp. So if we're playing, like, Blue-Green, and we have our Recoil Creepers and Unblinking Eyes, then I'll play, like, 3 and 4 Shadow Beast Sightings. In a deck like this, where we have to be more mindful of our curve, especially when we're looking to pick up some of the later game Werewolves, we got to watch ourselves with these. And so ideally, we would just table this Harvest-Tide Sentry out of here, and it will really help fill in our curve. But not really looking for the Shadow Beast Sighting. All right, Eccentric Farmer number 3. Don't think we're missing anything. Don't want the Tavern Ruffian. Sorry, Werewolves. I'm sorry to say things like that, but that's just the way life goes sometimes. Okay, Lunar Frenzy's a good game ender. Looking good to me. All right, well, I guess we are going to end up in the Festival Crashers deck today. I mean, we got the Angel Fire Ignition and the Lunar Frenzy to combo off with this, and it's not unreasonable to think we'll pick up a Stolen Vitality to replace this Might of the Old Ways. Okay, well, Pax Betrayal. I usually don't look to play Pax Betrayal. If we land in the Festival Crashers deck, you always prefer to have Abandon the Post, and that's also what we would prefer to have here in this deck that has 3 Eccentric Farmers in it. But we'll keep an eye on it. We may end up playing it. Hopefully, like, there is the Candle Guide here. I just don't. I don't feel like we're never going to play the Ruffian. Let's just pick up the Candle Guide. I would like to have like one more way for us to cast this Angel Fire Ignition. And that the Candle Guide can do it. I really have no intention of playing it though. Pestilent Wolf Wield, perfect. Brimstone Vandal, play it in a lot of Festival Crashers decks. Probably not going to play it here. We already have so many 3-drops with all of these Eccentric Farmers. All right, and well, here's our big boy for the day, Burly Breaker, fantastic Werewolf. I usually prefer the Vigilance one, just because it when you make this big investment in mana, it's very easy for your opponent to just throw a 1-drop or throw a 2-drop in front of this and just kind of deal with it. But if you have the 4/5 Vigilance, he's still hanging back and blocking and stuff. So it's usually what we prefer. But here we'll take the Breaker, and then hopefully we wheel this Stolen Vitality. Having Burly Breaker with these 3 trample cards, like an Ignition, a Frenzy, and a Stolen Vitality, gives us a nice way to close out a game that doesn't involve using Festival Crashers. So I'd be pretty happy with that. Okay, and here's a Festival Crasher. This is a realistic table. Tons of good Esper cards here. The only downside to this is if someone else at the table is drafting red, they might just come in and snatch it up. But definitely happy to pick up our second Moonrager Slash. Okay, finally a weak one. I'm actually really interested in this Jack-o'-lantern. I don't really want to play Crossroads Candle Guide. I'd be kind of fine with playing Dawnheart Rejuvenator, the 4-cost one that taps for any color of mana. But I don't really want to play the Candle Guide. I'd much rather play the Jack-o'-lantern. Okay, and then interesting. Now we can consider just not playing Jack-o'-lantern whatsoever, since we picked up a second Evolving Wilds. I think I really like this. Makes it much easier to play the Angel Fire Ignition. Okay, well here, Lambbolt Harrier's fine. We're not super excited about it, but it does get us up to 5 2-drops. I feel like, if that Festival Crasher that was rolling around gets us up to 6, that would be pretty good. And then the only thing I'm really kind of down on here is I would like to have one more expensive card. I was going to say Candlelit Cavalry could fit that role, but I think I want this Abandon the Post. I think we might end up wheeling one of these Candlelit Cavalries. So I think that's okay to go ahead and take the Abandon the Post. We can get rid of the Pax Betrayal at this point. We could also look to just play something like Tavern Ruffian in place of one of these big boys. He flips into a big boy. There is the Dawnheart Rejuvenator. I don't think we need this now, though, right? We're going to play 1 Plains, 2 Evolving Wilds, and then the Overgrown Farmland. And so I think we can let that go. There is a Stinger, but this doesn't feel like we're really aggressive enough to be a Stinger deck. Would make this Neonate's Rush just a little bit more serviceable. Okay, there's a Sacred Fire in this pack. I don't want to get too heavy into white. Make me feel a lot better if we thought we were, I think there's another Sacred Fire rolling around as well, but I would feel a lot better about this if we'd taken that Dawnheart Rejuvenator. So let's just go with the Stolen Vitality here. I was afraid this was going to happen where we just pick up a second Stolen Vitality. The Festival Crasher did wheel. Perfect, perfect. So yeah, I mean, the Sacred Fire, it plays well with the Flame Channeler. It's just, like, we can play Angel Fire Ignition on, like, turn 9 and be pretty reasonably happy with it. Turn 9 with a Sacred Fire is just not nearly as good. Okay. Well, we got something here. We got something here. It's got werewolves in it and stuff. It's this came together much better than I anticipated. So let's see what we can do. Let's see. Right. So make sure it's got the right amount of lands in here. We're at 17 with 1 plains, 7 and 7. That looks good. So I don't think there's anything in the sideboard we want. We can skip over all of these, and so cool. Let's take a peek at the old split here. T:(CR) to split the units and spells. You got 16 creatures in here, so I would like to get 1 creature out. Well, we actually have 18 creatures once we consider our Shadow Beast sightings, and so we can definitely remove a few. I think we can take the Snarling Wolf out to start with. Happy with all the 2s otherwise. Looking to take out Brimstone Vandal. And see where we stand at this point. We could probably take out 1 Tavern Ruffian as well. So where does that get us? That gets us 15 creatures. Maybe consider bringing back in a Tavern Ruffian. Here, we don't need Might of the Old Ways. Our combat tricks are already pretty good. I think we can live with just 2 Stolen Vitalities, but let me double check. I think we're wanting to get rid of the Neonate's Rush. We do have the 2 Flame Channelers, but I just don't feel like we have the stacks of spells to really take advantage of these. So I think we can get the Neonate's Rush out of here. I'm kind of happy enough with the Flame Channeler just being like a 2/2 that threatens to flip into a 3/3. But maybe we should look to bring the Neonate's Rush back in so we have 3 options for our Flame Channelers. We do have 2 of them. She doesn't work with the Brimstone Vandal, right? Where'd you go? A spell you control deals damage, so yeah, the Vandal won't do it. Bring the Neonate's Rush back in. Okay, so yeah, I think we're good to take out a Stolen Vitality. I'm happy with just 1 combat trick. The slashes stay, the rush stays. I don't feel like we really need the Electric Revelation here. It is nice to have the card advantage, but hoping we aren't going to be really that grindy. We don't play a good grindy late game that well. It is nice that we can get the value out of this thing, but I don't think that's really what we're trying to do. So okay, we got the 2 combat tricks, the 2 Moonrager Slashes, 1 Duel for Dominance, Neonate's Rush to interact with, Angel Fire Ignition to end the games. I guess the kind of the argument for playing one of those Electric Revelations would be the Festival Crashers. I just don't feel like we're a huge Festival Crasher deck, but I think that's going to be like our main kind of path to victory here. Gotta be sightings, want to hang on to the farmers, that's our value engine. It's like, what would we even take out if we were looking to add in an Electric Revelation? Oh, why do we have 2 planes? Hang on. I don't want 2 planes. Okay. Now 7, 14, 15, okay, 17 land. I thought it cut us up to 18 land, so we're good in that sense now. The Rush Slashes. And I don't have any spells that I really want to cut for an Electric Revelation. So I think we're going to have to be good where we are. I think the one I am slightly interested in is taking out this Duel for Dominance for another combat trick. We should have the tools for, I guess, the duel to be good, right? We have the Shadow Beast sighting is the kind of key card, but then we also have some werewolves that can flip. So I think that's fine. I guess one of the notes the kind of interest me in bringing back in the Revelation is one of the things for these decks that's kind of disastrous is if you want to, say, flip your Stormseeker so you don't play any cards to send it to Night, then you like really want something to play on your opponent's turn. And right now, all we have to play on our opponent's turn would be the Slashes, the Rush, and the Duel for Dominance. Makes me just want to bring this Electric Revelation back in just to have something to do on our opponent's turn. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring the Revelation in. Keeping the duel for dominance, that really fits into that theme. I think I'm just going to play 41 here. I don't want to. I want to stick to 15 creatures. Abandon the post would be. I guess we could cut and abandon the post, but I really think I just want to play 41, considering cutting, abandoning the post, and then just adding back in a stolen vitality, so that we have another good early game combat trick. But I think this will be good here. I like the abandon the post in the Crashers decks. I like the abandon the post in our triple eccentric farmer deck and the electric revelation. I think that's good. Let's stick where we're at here. 41, the place to be. It's one of those things. There's probably a cut here. You can go ask Ben Stark what the cut is to get it down to 40, but the percentages of playing 40 and 41 aren't that huge of a deal. Same thing applies to playing 60 and 61 in constructed, and so I feel okay with it. All right, reasonable enough start here. A 2 and a 3 along with a combat trick and the mana to cast everything. Looks pretty good. I don't think these ever come into play tapped later, right? Ender's tapped unless you control 2 or more other land. It doesn't matter with this hand, but you can find hands where that's relevant. Alright, opponent out here, Festival crashing 2. No blocks. We're not losing our dude to a startle. See if he has the midnight ambush to kill our flame channeler. That's the way you're looking to get big values out of these crashers. Sure. He's not going to expect our Stormseeker. Our Stormseeker will let us race better than the way he's able to race. Geist Wave here would be pretty powerful, though. Big tempo play. Yeah. At least he doesn't get the damage out of it. Sure. So he's going to get a 7 hit in. Okay. We just have to be ready to block next turn. We'll have to play the Shadow Beast sighting and hope that pans out. Well, we could add the Stormseeker. The big thing on the next turn will be... Oh, we got one consider? Oh, the copy doesn't count. And we hit the duel for dominance. Okay, well, we can do that next turn. Let's just drop the Shadow Beast sighting. I'm okay to come out here and block if that's what we need to do with the Flame Channeler. But I think we can get just like a Reckless Stormseeker hit on the Festival Crasher next turn and end it. I just don't want to take like an 8 damage hit here. So the Startle would be what makes this bad, but he needs 2 cards to make it more than a Startle worth it, right? So I guess he can like Galvanic Iteration into Startle, which would be kind of annoying, but if he taps out here, I feel pretty okay about this turn. Okay. So he needs another spell to get the kill. Interesting way to do it. The Crasher of our own. I'm going to leave the Stormseeker back. The idea here is we are going to kill off this Festival Crasher, but I want to have the Stormseeker back to block next turn. I don't want to just be taking a bunch of damage off of these little zombie tokens. As long as the longer this game goes, the stronger we're going to be. I do believe. It seems to be pretty heavily invested in the Crashers. Moonrager Slash is kind of interesting. I think we can probably just wait a turn on it. It's like I do kind of want to get the I think I like this a little bit more though. Let's Flame Channeler. Get Moonrager slash the Vandal. It's gonna flip both of our channelers. We can Stormseek the new one. Come in. It's just more efficient with our mana than playing a Shadow Beast sighting. Also lets us, you know, threaten some lethals next turn. Like if we want to say play Festival Crashers, give it haste and then hit with the Lunar Frenzy. It looks to be pretty strong. What's he doubling up on? Not bad. Not bad. Which one are we on here? The copy? No, I don't want to put that one on top. Do want to put the Stormseeker on top. So we're going to get blasted here now. That was pretty powerful. So we'll have to watch ourselves next turn. He can make one of our units so it can't block, but I think we should be able to build up a strong enough board that we can survive this reasonably. There's no need to be greedy in this space. We don't want to die to a you know, Harrier plus a bounce spell or something. We should be close to lethal next turn. Say we play the Shadow Beast sighting. That's going to boost our Festival Crashers 1, and then we can look to trample on 2 of our units. That's good. Make sure our mana doesn't tap dumb here. I tapped a bunch of mana. Where's the buttons? Where they just go away? What the hell? Oh, that's a flashback. Oh, hang on. Oh, that doesn't work how I wanted. It's still okay. The Pestilent Wolf will do enough to get the job done. And to do something I don't approve of here. Okay, so that takes us to 4. So say we attack with everything. He blocks our Embodiment of Flame with the Lambolt Harrier. He's looking to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trample. So we're just going to die on the hit back. How much mana does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. So he can make 2 of our units can't block. We just need something to go right here. Needed him to do something dumb with the Harrier, right? Because he could have just said any 2 of our units can't block, and then we would have just been able to put 1 unit back on board. So this is fine. Yeah. I wonder if we would have, well, if we would have attacked with everything. Maybe we should have attacked with the Festival Crasher there as well. Would that have actually been a lethal? We would have been 1 short. Damn. I felt like we should have gotten that one. We were probably like a little bit too aggressive early on. I liked how our play was there at the mid game once he started getting the zombie tokens on, but I feel like one of those attacks in there early we should have shied away from. I don't think we should have lost that game. Dang, the poor werewolves not succeeding due to our poor lines. But yeah, there was trying to. I did get a little confused with that Shadow Beast sighting. I was trying to set up some of those lines, thinking we could play it for 4 mana, but yeah, oops. All right, that's a reasonable enough start. Yeah, some of those earlier attacks with the Festival Crashers. This is the way you tend to like fall into trouble against the Festival Crashers deck is when they're making like these tempo attacks on you. But if you can like shut down the Festival Crashers, they're just playing a bunch of shitty cards. Well, they're not shitty cards. They just aren't cards that really help you win the game, right? Because you have to have this like delicate balance of enough fuel to get the damage up on the Crashers. But then if if you can kill off the Crashers, then they're just sitting around on a bunch of like startles and stuff, and they tend to not have very many good units. And so I think we should have just been more control decky than we were. We got in a couple of greedy attacks in there. Well, opponent mulliganed and they started with double island. Here's another land. Okay, I was like, there's a chance where we get to get a nightfall here pretty quickly. As we bring the werewolf thunder. Might as well attack with the bird. It can't block. Angel Fire Ignition's kind of interesting. I think I'd rather get a little bit of a bigger boy on board before we drop it. He has double blue. The only double blue combat trick would be Startle. So he's never winning this combat. He's just going to not lose it. It seems like he's going to try and Startle, and he moved off the Infiltrator because it would kill his Chaplain. Or does he have Trample? This is a card we never play. Okay, I guess that makes sense. So it seems like he was highlighting the Roost and reading it, so I think he does have the land and then the flashback on the Chaplain, which is fine. Creature you control, creature you don't. Yes. Not sure why he's not attacking with these birds. They can't block. Maybe he's gonna give one of our dudes flying. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. Sure. So we have the Lunar Frenzy here to just blow this out, but would we rather play Angel Fire Ignition? Probably not. I guess we could look to just, giving one thing first strike just isn't enough. Oh, I guess I should have stopped to assess if we could just win the game with the burn spell. Oops. This is the top-notch play people come here for. But all right. We won a game with the Werewolves. That makes me feel pretty good. I said in our previous video that I felt like we'd probably go like 1-3, and so we've unlocked the one piece. Let's see how the rest of this goes. This is definitely better than a 1-3 deck, though. This is at least a 3 winner. Don't think we ever pull off the 7 with this, but I think like 4 plus or minus 1 is a pretty reasonable and realistic expectation for this deck. Right? We don't have any of like the super high powered stuff. We don't have like planeswalkers or rares or I don't even know if we really have, like, I wouldn't say that we have like power uncommons, right? I mean, we have flame channelers that are uncommons, but we aren't like super high powered in that sense. Right, I'm just going to go ahead and crack this Evolving Wild so I don't forget it. Opponent's not going to do anything with that information anyways, so I think that's pretty fair. We'll add the Crasher. We could look to add the Flame Channeler, but there's like scarier plays if we drop the Flame Channeler, whereas I think that they rarely interact here. But this Neonate's Rush is good if he wants to come in and block. Works for me. The Bird Admirer and your Fall from Grace. Oh, Candle Trap, cool. We used to love us a Bird Admirer, and then the format kind of evolved, and she fell out of favor, but you'll have your time in the sun one day again. Whenever they bring back the Innistrad plus Crimson Vow drafts, maybe you'll be decent then. Alright, so going for the Neonight's Rush play did kind of mess up our mana a little bit, so we had to Evolving Wilds a turn later. We don't get the Shadow Beast sighting down on 4, whereas if we made other plays, we could have just played the Channeler on 3, the Shadow Beast sighting on 4, but I still think this is fine. Sure. Hound Tamer's on the scarier end of the spectrum, but I think we can reasonably handle it. Should be able to like just control deck them here pretty decently. He's only got 2 cards left in his hand. I do want to get the Tamer off the board. We'll probably be looking at our Moonrager Slash to do that, but we have a lot of grindy stuff going on here. And so, oh man, I neglected to worry about the thing flipping, but we got a bigger werewolf. Sure. These are the kind of good uncommons I was talking about. We have no Hound Tamers in our deck. Keeps it at night. Okay. Like he's about to do something awesome for us. Oh, damn. That wasn't as awesome as I had hoped. Okay, then we didn't get punished on the land. We found the mountain. I played the land before combat because I wanted to be able to fully ramp up our Lunar Frenzy onto the Smasher. But if we didn't hit a land, then we would have had to get like an Evolving Wild, so we wouldn't have been able to have an untapped land for this turn. Okay. Should be good for a kill next turn. The Abandon the Post, I imagine, will be enough to end it. Curious what their hand looks like. I mean, they haven't played any cards for like 8 turns in a row. I assume if he had combat tricks, he would have been getting them invested in our Tavern Ruffian. I guess that's a card to have. Oh, vanquish the Horde. So I still think we're fine. It's kind of a whatever. Give it a meh, whatever. All right, so yeah, the other things going on in the world for those that watch the midpoints here, I plan on getting a kind of Crimson Vow primer together on draft. I've kind of been piecing together in my brain nugget how I want to do that. I don't know if I'll get it out, directly before the the cards are out, but I think I should be able to get it out on Friday. If not, yeah, I think Friday would be about it. Today's Wednesday. This video come out on Thursday. I want to make a Crimson Vow video on Thursday, and then I might be able to, between my free time today and on Thursday, I should be able to get something together. But I was kind of wanting to do it just kind of in the sense of the way I did the 3-minute guides in Runeterra. You take the champion and then just make a real quick hit video about the champion in 3 minutes, because I figure, if you're wanting to come out and draft, you don't want to watch a fucking hour-long video on how to draft a champion. You just want the highlights. But I was looking to do something similar to that, but for Magic, and then I figured we could. That looks like it's probably a color pair kind of set, and so if we do the 10 color pairs in 2 or 3 minutes apiece, that doesn't sound like an absurdly long video. I thought could be fairly useful, and so look to get that assembled. All right, back to this one. I felt like this hand was okay if we didn't pick up a forest early, and then if we did pick up a forest early, this is kind of as strong as we can expect out of this deck. And so we did hit. We got the decent curve into our Shadow Beast sighting now. I think this looks okay. I'm just going to go ahead and burn down the Dawn Heart Wardens. Let's get in a... and say he never blocks. I think I'm kind of okay with just trading the Festival Crasher for a Flare of Faith. He's not really doing anything this game. This is a particularly grindy hand. Okay. I got one of those too. No blocks on this one. And then we'll be ready with our Lunar Frenzy next turn. The scary thing with Lunar Frenzy would be if he does have the Flare of Faith. I think I would, because we're going to play Plains, we're going to play an Eccentric Farmer. Maybe we're not doing all that now. He didn't spend any mana though. I don't want to fool around with these shenanigans. I'll feel much better once we get in the space to where we can Lunar Frenzy. Right? We're still kind of in this blowout territory with a Flare of Faith. It'll be really telling what he does here, whether or not he still attacks with the Shadow Beast or if he just comes in with only the Loyal Griff, and how scared we need to be of the combat tricks from them. Hit a Coven for the duel. Okay. I think we can get a decent enough ground game here. Second Shadow Beast sighting, but no land. Okay. It's a bit painful. Problematic. Alright, we did hit an abandon the post in there. Maybe we can get something going with that. We're about to get blasted for damage here. It's like I feel like we have to just kind of keep going in with the Burly Breaker, or we can never just like achieve enough in this game. But it's like we've been one mana behind fucking forever. It is literally how this is looking. Can we just like win the game next turn? That's what we're gonna have to start looking at now. Like if we want to say flashback, abandon the post, and play Lunar Frenzy, and try to get a win with the Festival Crashers. How much is this? He's not coming in for lethal, is he? He's only coming in for 10. Okay, no blocks. They didn't have a trick. He's gonna flashback a unit, which is okay. That's actually one of the more okay choices, given that it only has 1 health. Okay, so we abandon the post, the 2 things. He blocks our 2 biggest boys, so the Burly Breaker is not going to do anything. Yeah, we're going to be short. There's no 2 ways around this. If he only had 1 unit, we could have done it. Him having 2 units, we can't. I think we could have done it with 2 units, right? We'd have a 5 attack into the Crasher, so we'd have 11, and then we could boost out 2 more damage, so it'll only be 13, 14, 15. Would have still been a little bit short, but that was just like a little bit too awkward how we lined that up. We should have maybe played a Flame Channeler in there. We just didn't have the mana to get a good Lunar Frenzy to take down the 5/5. So that's probably on us. We probably should have taken one of those turns where we played an Eccentric Farmer just to play the Flame Channeler. And then we could have given we could have given the Festival Crasher enough bonus attack, but still I don't know if we ever like win the game that way. It seems like the way that we were going to win that game was just a big trample through with Burly Breaker. All right, what do we got here? Can't keep this one. If this plains was a mountain, we could keep this, but oh shit. All right, give us a mountain quick because I clicked the wrong button. Oh shit. That's not good. All right, he's playing forest. Let's keep it fair. That's not keeping it fair, man. Oh, this is bad. I don't know why I'm so bad at this in this game, as far as clicking the wrong button on the mulligans. I wish they would make them farther apart or more apparent what you're doing. This is most certainly not the first time that has happened. Ah, jeez. What a shitty way to go. What a shitty way to go. We can come back though, right? If even if this play is something like a werewolf here and then popping it with Angel Fire Ignition, like we can gain 1,000,000 health with these cards. So all right, we hit the mountain. That piece has been accomplished. I think we have to Shadow Beast. It's just like so bad. If he has a bounce spell and we get tempoed, it doesn't matter either way, right? He has stalled on 3 land, which is kind of promising, but it's like, yeah, I think, well, we could look to, what if we say play Lambert Harrier and then duel for dominance? Or we could do the same thing. Ooh, what if we do this? I like this. What if we say Festival Crasher and then we duel for dominance the Patrician Geist? Yeah. That's where it's at. And this is also going to send it back to day. So we now have our blocker for the Harvest-Tide Sentry. The Bird Admirer attack is small again. We can get right back in this, especially if we draw another land. Because he didn't have a play. Well, he played Patrician Geist. It was us that sent it to Nightfall, but I think that's okay. can't take the damage. We've got to trade this for any combat trick. But if he plays a combat trick here, it means he's not playing another card. It's hoping for more along the lines of a +2/+2, but okay. Alright, so we can play 2 cards this turn, but only 1 mountain's worth of cards. Alright, Shadow Beast. No bounce spells, please. 1-time dealer. We're right back in this if he can't bounce our Shadow Beast. If we can play an Angel Fire Ignition on it and gain 6. So huge. I think we're okay. If he had Revenge of the Drowned, he would have just snapped it off. And the mountain. Okay. Yeah, let's bring the heat. The heat has been brought. But I think we're pretty right on that, right? If he had a Bait Hook Angler is not a strong play there, right? If he had the Revenge of the Drowned, he would have snapped it off on our beast. If he had the Geist Wave, he would have snapped it on our beast and played Contortionist Troop for 1. I think we're pretty safe in those terms. Oof. Oof. Who's ready to gain 1 million? Alright, he milled a Shadow Beast. Ready to block if you're bringing some attacks in. Nope. Alright, so the downside with another Angel Fire Ignition is that it costs 4, so we could only play 1 card if that's what we want to play. We could look to, say, just play Eccentric Farmer and see what we hit. I'm not excited about attacking with the Shadow Beast, him blocking with Bait Hook Angler and Harvesttide Sentry. It's just not, that's not great for us, let's be real. But this is fine. Go into that all-in territory. I just think he never blocks here. We go up to 25. He didn't snap off his Organ Hoarded card either. So there is a world where this beast gets through. Oh, cool. We're getting some value. Beautiful. Because I imagine us having like a good attack where we get to we get to like Moonrager Slash, right? He sets up some kind of block with the Harvesttide Sentry. Shit, he's looking at our stuff. Shit. Well, you did your part. Gonna start blasting us for the sentries. That's fine. We have a good block on the Organ Hoarder. The troop can't attack. Alright guys, we can still do it. We can still do it. A creeper, sure. Abandon the post. Okay, but we did lose both Moonrager Slash and our Reckless Stormseeker. So we just don't have any good cards left in our deck. We got a Burly Breaker and a Shadow Beast sighting. That's about the extent of what's remaining in here. So he has a good attack with the Harvest-Tide Sentry. The rest of his attacks suck. And hopefully we can catch up a little bit. I don't know if we can do it without our Shadow Beast. I'm kind of curious if we maybe shouldn't have loaded up that Lambolt Harrier just a little bit instead and had a 6/6 and a 4/4 as opposed to one big boy. But without an answer to this big boy, this game was done. And blue-green is notoriously bad about being able to interact with stuff. I'm going to hold on to these lands. We have the Electric Revelations in our deck, so if we pick up one of those, I want to have some discard fodder for him. I guess we could just stick with one land in doing that, but that's unfortunate. I'm curious how that game would have gone if we'd picked up the mulligan like we intended. It's a little unfortunate, but I had fun with this one nonetheless. It wasn't our most successful one, but it was successful enough for the final red green deck. So I mean we can pull this up a little bit more. I'd be glad to talk about it. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, this deck is essentially everything wrong with red green and the format. Not that I think that this deck is like terrible, but as we look at like the decks and like zombies has like a coherent deck that doesn't require uncommons or rares. It really kind of like pops off with some uncommons, but you know what zombies looks like, right? There's like specific zombie cards in the format that don't suck. And then even if that deck doesn't come together, then like blue-black control is still fine. And then kind of the same thing applies to basically every other color pair in the format, right? If you're playing blue-white, you kind of main and want to be in Disturb. If that doesn't come together, you play blue-white Flyers. If you're playing Simic, we talked about the tempo deck, the mill deck, and the ramp deck. If you're playing white-black Orzhov, you have the engine style aristocrats deck. You have the white black aggro, and then you have kind of like white black control, depending on how things go. But at the end of the day, like this is the werewolf set, and like werewolves are fairly non-existent, right? And so that's problematic, I would say, from both a thematic standpoint of the main goal of the set just completely missed. I'm pretty sure it's just missed and constructed as well, but it's like there just needs to be like one or two more like flashy werewolves that are pretty interesting, and not having things like Tovalar the Huntmaster be completely over, or Tovalar's the actual like werewolf, like marquee werewolf of the set, not just be worse than the Huntmaster, or having like Arlen not be in such a bad color combination. And so it's been a little bit unfortunate that like werewolves were so bad. It's so like I was kind of mentioning with zombies, you can still get a good zombies deck together without the likes of the Zombie Lord or the likes of Ludwig or whatever. There's still like in the common territory, you can play a bunch of like siege zombies and zombie generators and stuff. You can get a real deck in the common space. But if you do that in werewolves, you're just playing a bunch of creatures. And that just kind of like really falls flat on me. So that's kind of like problem number one. Kind of like problem number two you run into with red-green is we landed in kind of a Festival Crashers deck here. It is just infinitely better in blue and in white. And so that's kind of a falls flat aspect here. And then there's no like real fallbacks, right? If the best green card in the set is Shadow Beast Sighting, red-green is the worst deck to try and take advantage of it. You really like it in Simic, where you have the self-mill and you have the ramp cards, but you just don't like it here because you can't play it until the fourth turn, and you never get that big time rush and that big time advantage of playing it a turn early and then flashing it back a turn early. So red-green, I mean, it just kind of has everything wrong going for it. It's the two worst colors in the set. The werewolf synergies are non-existent. The Festival Crashers deck doesn't play well here. The best green card in the set doesn't play well here. And so you just kind of have to like hope that you're the only red and green drafter at the table. And so that was kind of the problem with this one here. We went out of our way to specifically just draft the werewolves, and then we passed on like a bird admirer or something. But they just needed like something in the common space that said like werewolf on it, or something in the common space that would uh, turn day to night, or something. Right? There's just like no payoff for opening a bunch of werewolves, and even with things like Kessig Naturalist. Like, I'm trying to think of the cards in like pack 3. It's like, okay, shit has happened. We're in pack 3. We need to open something to like really tie this deck together. We did that in the previous draft. Like, it was like, okay, we've drafted all these zombies. We need to find like a Scab Wrangler or a Larder Zombie or a Siege Zombie, just something to tie all the zombie generation together that we have. And in terms of werewolves, that just doesn't exist. You can potentially hit Kessig Naturalist. He kind of ties all this together, right? He can ramp the Shadow Beasts. He gives your werewolves +1/+1. But there's just nothing else, right? When we're talking about Larder Zombie, Siege Zombie, those are commons. There just needs to be something, right? Something that says, I don't know, your werewolves get +1/+1, or your werewolves get +1 attack, or, transform, your werewolves get first strike or something. There's nothing to pay off drafting like 8 werewolves in your deck, other than them having bigger stats on the backside, which takes quite a bit of work on its own. We even spoke specifically in this deck, and like, why are we playing cards like Electric Revelation? It's because you can't land yourself in a deck to where you just play no cards on turn 5 to flip it to night, and then your opponent's like, all right, well, fuck you. I'm going to play 2 cards. You just wasted 5 mana of time, and now you're back to where you started. And so you either have to give up on your day-night plan, and just go back to playing cards, or now you have to skip on spending 6 mana to do the same thing again. And so there's no way to really play around those kind of things with the werewolves. So yeah, I don't know. I'm no game designer, but I feel like the werewolves really missed the mark in the werewolf set, which is a bit unfortunate. But nonetheless, we can take a peek at the draft pretty quick. This again, we knew that we were just going to draft red green as our last draft of Midnight Hunt. This pack here is a bit of a trap in terms of the best card overall being red. Again, if you're going to have 1 or 2 more of these drafts in you, don't start with a red card. The only red card in the game that I would start with is the guy that taps to deal a point of damage, and then untaps when you play a spell. Otherwise, just stay away. I don't even know if I would take a Moonveil Regent first. The build around aspects of Moonveil Regent just aren't there where they do exist for. It's not Is It Staticaster, but it's something along those lines. But here, if you're drafting for serious, I recommend just taking Flip the Switch. I think that's the best of the Esper cards here. Pack 2, same kind of deal. The Esper is pretty weak, but you got to pick up something. Eccentric Farmer is not the pick for you. I can assure you that. These are pretty weak. I would look towards the Morning Patrol. If you prefer drafting blue-black as opposed to blue-white, you could look at the Blood Thief or the Morkut Behemoth, but I think the Morning Patrol is the best of the Esper cards remaining here. And then as you move forward, again, you don't want the Eccentric Farmer, but this is a pretty easy Dreadhound. You have 1 card of each Esper color, and then you get to pick up the Gavany Dawn Guard. This was a pretty impressive Esper pack. The Dawn Guard, completely fine. Still don't know if you're looking, to my opinion, to be in like blue-white at that point, but you're still certainly open. Here is a pretty easy Geist Wave, I think. I don't think you're ready to just jump into Corpse Cobbles. And then Revenge of the Drowned gets you more and more solidified into blue-white. Be okay with Component Collector. You could probably just want the Ecstatic Awakener just in case. You could pick up a Cathar Commando if you're just like fully locked into blue-white or the Evolving Wilds. You still have very good Esper packs here that don't involve us taking these bad green cards. This would be, the first kind of interesting point here, right? We've drafted a fair amount of blue. Now we're getting a 9th pick Shadow Beast sighting to indicate green is open. I will seriously consider playing green-white, seriously consider playing. Oh, girl, it's okay. Get your claw stuck in me. But, right, this is the point where you want to be taking green cards. If we start seeing these Shadow Beast sightings that say, like, pick 6 or pick 7, like you see here, if we have this deck where we have the pick 7 Shadow Beast sighting, the pick 9 Shadow Beast sighting, and we have a reasonable pile of blue cards, a reasonable pile of white, this is how we get into green-white, and this is how we get into blue-green. We certainly don't want to start with red or green cards. And so that's why if you go back to that initial pack, when I say that like the Flame Channeler is a trap, and why I say things like I wouldn't take Moonveil Regent first, that is exactly why. We have no business in being in red in this draft. We wanted to stick to Esper and then see if Esper is just fully open, then great. If it's not, look for green and red late. And this is the absolute perfect example of finding green late with this pick 7, pick 9 Shadow Beast sightings. I don't remember how pack 2 looked, but this would be the kind of space to where we could be like, okay, well, we're going to either draft blue-green or we're going to draft green-white. So you could look at like the Fading Hope here or the Scab Wrangler. I could see an argument for either. I don't completely remember our decks. It's probably something like Fading Hope. A pretty weak pack for us, but there is an Unblinking Observer of note. So if we're playing Simic, this is a potentially good wheel. Probably just end up with like a Broodweaver here. And these things just kind of continue on. The black card's not that interesting, but a lot of good white. That's going to say here's a Croaking counterpart if we ended up in blue-green. And then from that point forward, a third Shadow Beast sighting could lock you into blue-green. I thought that there was like a Simic Root Coil Creeper, but it didn't quite end there. Yeah, this is like ultimately why I think Esper was so out of control in this format. As we get to pick 9, you've had a complete wheel of cards. There's still extremely playable cards in Esper, right? Homestead Courage, Revenge of the Drowned, No Way Out. Novice Occultist is the worst of the options, but a potential one. And then, we don't play Sun Gold Barrage anymore, but there is a removal spell still here at pick 9. Here we are getting the pick 10 for the ramp in our Shadow Beast sightings. So, oh no, not bad, not bad. I may not have been the most successful of drafts in terms of wins, but I felt like we got a really good grasp on this format, and I hope we were able to kind of share that with you all out there. And so yeah, the things upcoming, if you're not familiar with what we're doing, or if you are and don't remember, we will be streaming this weekend. I'm starting to get my I'm trying to get my start on the regular streaming, and so we'll be on Twitch, Twitch/FTPBust, looking to start at 9 a.m. Central Time on Saturday and Sunday, and then run till about noon. Probably be 11 at the earliest or noon at the latest, kind of depending on how things go. Definitely before noon on Sunday, because we've got to go and watch the Chiefs. So that's the plan. The videos starting on Friday will be Crimson Vow, and then I am looking to put together that kind of Crimson Vow primer 3-minute guide. Should be about a 30-45 minute long video with a good get you started on Crimson Vow drafts for your Friday Night Magic or your weekend of drafting with the Crimson Vow. But yeah, that'll do it for us today. I hope you all enjoyed our exit from the Midnight Hunt. You learned a thing or two along the way. Maybe had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.